Templeton's here. How you doing?
Not too bad, yourself?
We had you in. We were going to get Shane to do his power rankings, but he claimed not to have enough time to do them.
I was very busy under the gun.
Because he took too much shit the last time, basically.
Because you wouldn't leave it alone.
Hey, you've got to put it out there, you know?
Oh, nothing, I don't know. Just every time it was brought up, I was getting hammered for apparently hating somebody when that's not the case.
Did you get hammered by people other than us? Because obviously you don't care about us.
No, I don't. But I did get a private message from someone on Facebook, no less, telling me how deluded I am and what, I have no clue and biased and all this kind of stuff.
One of your mates?
No, some guy I don't know.
All right.
Some guy from Galway that I don't know, so
all right.
Just getting hammered for thinking, oh, maybe he's right. Maybe I'm deluded.
It's kind of an insight to what Kyle Walker would have been getting had Kerry Kane not saved him last night.
Yeah, there you go. Now you know exactly what it feels like to be an England footballer. You've got something with you?
Yeah. The Ireland Euro 88 jersey, bought with my communion money.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that incredible stuff?
That is incredible, yeah.
I'm surprised you haven't modelled it in for us just to show off your pecs.
I did try to get it on. Unfortunately, it wouldn't quite fit. Actually, I was down home at the weekend and I'd asked my mother to dig it out, so she dug this out.
That's class.
And I said, how much did that cost? And she said, I don't know, but it cost you an awful lot of your money. Yeah,
is it real?
It is
real. It's proper Adidas, yeah.
Yeah, I asked her. I said, was this one of
the blood on your neck there from where the brother hit you with the hurl?
That's actually ketchup. It genuinely is, because the father took me to see Ireland against USA in 1991 in Lansdowne Road. Ireland won 4-1.
Ah, yeah.
And I had a hot dog that day. I had a massive oversized hat that was probably a normal size hat, but huge on me.
Yeah.
And I got ketchup on it and it never came out.
There they go. That's class.
Yeah.
A proper bit of memorabilia.
And actually,
I like that jersey. It's a great jersey.
Oh, you often wonder over the years, Ireland have had some pretty drab, disappointing jerseys. Come on, lads. There's the template.
Just go back to it. Yeah.
The bit of netting there as well.
The netting. I love the netting.
I found a Blackburn Rovers jersey from when I was 13 as well, down home as well. That actually does fit now. It's skimpy enough, but
it's blue and white.
Yeah, with the McEwen's lager across the front as well.
You know, a classic brand, McEwen's lager.
Yeah.
Right, so we should talk about the fact that Waterford are looking for a new manager. One of the things I think about this, Peter Queally wanted the job, but nobody else wanted the job. Him and Derek were at it, and Peter Queally was the favourite for it 5 years ago when he got it, and he had to beef up his backroom team with legends like Dan to get it over the line. And now I would say it's one of the most sought after jobs from Waterford's legendary players and former players, and also outside managers going, I wouldn't mind getting my hands on the raw talent pool that they have. And that's credit to him. Ultimately, he will feel like he didn't achieve what he could have achieved. I'm
sure he probably, I suppose if you stand back and look at it though, what he's done with that team has been pretty amazing, really. Because 2012 and 2013, Michael Ryan was over the team, and I think a lot of the team that he inherited from Davy Fitz was coming towards their end. And Derek kept faith with that team the following year, and they got destroyed. I remember being down in Clare one day for a league game, and I think they conceded 5 goals. And I was sitting in the stand afterwards for probably an hour afterwards writing my article, and I could hear roaring still going on in the Waterford dressing room. You could hear it through the stands. It's such a small place, and you wondered how it could get from that to an All-Ireland final in 2017.
Yeah,
it's been some journey, but they've won a league final the very following season. They got to a league final again. They got to 2 Munster finals. 3 All-Ireland semi-finals, including one that they won, and an All-Ireland final. Considering the base he came from and the criticism, he was under so much scrutiny. Remember after 2014, he got rid of a lot of established players. And he often talks about this himself, he didn't feel that he had much credit in the bank in terms of being a hurler.
Yeah. Because,
he had that 3-year minor underage career, was supposed to be this great talent.
He made 1 championship appearance, did he?
Yeah, and I think that was a sub even. And he felt, and I suppose there was a bit of an inferiority complex with that, and having Dan beside him, that would kind of fill that void of having someone with credit in the bank. But, all those things, I find with Waterford, they've been a compelling story to follow the past few years. You've interviewed Derek McGrath, I'm sure, a number of times as well. And he's just one of the great gents of hurling. And even if you're not part of his county, if your own county isn't winning, you'd want his to win.
Totally.
I think that's the effect he had.
Yeah. Well, let's play a bit of him, actually, because he was in with Joe at the end of February talking about his future. Have a look.
So you're back teaching, are you, for the year, or what's the plan?
No, I was back till January. I'm out now at the moment, Joe. Yeah, I'm back out again, so I'm I'm on parental leave at the moment, yeah.
And so what do you want to say now before a headline kicks off that says McGrath forced to leave teaching again due to inter-county commitments? What's the point you want to make about it?
No, there's no. I had 14 weeks left on my youngest son, Owen, and look, I think I've told you already in terms of without making it a big deal, it's probably my last go at it, in terms of 2018. So I just said, 14 weeks, I'll give it, I in between that I have a midterm break, I have the 2 weeks Easter holidays, I have the last week in May, so it's only about a 10 week parental leave as such, and I just said I'd give it 10 weeks of absolute effort and get the balance right, more balance right in terms of spending a bit more time with the kids as opposed to the hurling, and that's not becoming that's obsessive with the hurling, but I think the prerequisite of parental leave is that you have 2 children, and that's why you're there to look after them as such, and I think I've been spending a little bit more time with them, trying to help a little bit more with them, if you like. But yeah, that's the nature of it. Just give it everything. I made a mistake last year because it became a whole debate on professionalism, and but look, that's the nature of it. And maybe I've indirectly made a mistake again, but that's just, you can't hide behind the truth.
No.
I guess what comes to mind with that is, so there's this sort of parental side to him. And the last couple of years, let's say, for example, last year, Tadhg de Búrca got suspended for the All-Ireland semi-final. And he was wearing that 5 with a circle around it as a reminder during the game. And I think some of the players did as well. And he was going meeting with Tadhg de Búrca's family just to talk over, we'll do everything we can to try and get you off. And it was the same with Conor Gleeson as well. That he's got this sort of, patriarchal sort of... with the players, when they were going away on training camps, he'd set up study groups, camps for the guys who were still in college, and he just seems an all things to all men sort of guy. Michael Ryan, again, I mentioned the former Waterford manager, he had Derek as a player at De La Salle, and they won Munster in 2010, and they were going on to the All-Ireland semi-final then against Clarenbridge, who were managed by Micheál Donoghue. But Derek wasn't really featuring as a player. But Michael Ryan, he used to chat with him, and he met one day with Derek, and he explained that, maybe I'd do a bit of background on some of our players. And Michael met up with him again, and he'd done out this massive dossier on all the players. And he said a couple of players they didn't really use throughout the year. He started using more in the year based on what Derek had kind of pointed out to him.
It's that's going to be the legacy of the man, really, isn't it? I know I suspect he's going to come back and do this job again in maybe 5-10 years or whatever it may be, but the legacy of this tenure is that man management, because the initial thing you think of as a manager, you think of the tactics, you think of the sweeper, but ultimately that's all irrelevant in comparison to what he's given to this Waterford squad on a human level.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, he's the most personable guy, even for the media, so imagine what he's like for the players then as well, and he got a lot out of them. And again, I go back to the criticism about, getting rid of some of the older, more established players. And then even the fact that so many of the legends of the counties were commenting negatively on using the sweeper system.
Non-stop. They just chipped away the whole way along. You're like, shut up, lads.
Yeah,
that's his style of play, and that's what he's going to do. And look, he's going to live or die by it, and now the team has died by it. But that's he went for it. Yeah. You guys went for it in your way, and it didn't work. He's trying something different. That's what he's done. I don't know.
He's principled.
Yeah, he certainly is. And I think back over the interactions I would have had with his team over the years, and I think it was early 2015, they were playing a 1B game against Wexford in Wexford Park. And I took a picture and I saw there was something like 13 players in their own half. And I did a tweet saying, Waterford are the Donegal of hurling. And a few days later, I was interviewing Noel Connors over the phone, and I said to him, "You're basically the new Donegal." And he kind of laughed it off. And then the following day, he happened to be doing a media event as well. And he said in the media event, "Oh yes, some journalist said to me we're like the Donegal of hurling." And then that became the whole big thing that exploded. And then Dan Shanahan, after they won the league final that year, he started saying that was, in his interview afterwards. And I was there holding up the microphone. Yeah, and this talk of the Donegal of hurling is absolute bull. SH1T, where I'm going with that. And it's just kind of, it's funny the interactions you have with them over the few years, and you wouldn't really have that with other teams that you're not actually, when you're not from their county.
There's nothing wrong with being the Donegal of hurling, is the ultimate point here though, is there? Did Derek McGrath help transport us to a point, and we're not there yet, with Gaelic games and the notions of tactics, where it's okay to think about hurling in a way that isn't just pick the ball up and puck it up the field as far as you can. It is okay to think about it in an intellectual manner.
It's brilliant. I love it because he's trying to get the best out of what he has. The point I always made in the last year or two is I thought that they were struggling to have really good, or struggling for really quality forwards.
Yeah, so they had to put Ozzy Gleeson in forwards.
And change the formation and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they have evolved too, and we've seen them a lot with 15, the proper traditional formation this year, even though it probably wasn't fully traditional, but a bit more.
You just haven't seen Devine play this year. You wonder what would have happened if he'd stuck around last year. He went travelling last year, and that was the kind of hallmark of this, was like every year players would go travelling, and it was like, off you go on and be men, go on and have a life. Like,
you talking about? Are you thinking ruthlessness here?
No, I'm just thinking that obviously it's the right thing to do. It's clearly the right thing to do, and I hope they all have much longer and more fruitful careers into the future. But he doesn't get to experience the benefits of that.
No, and you'd wonder, even Tom Devine, how would they have gone in the All-Ireland final last year if, Shane Bennett went off early, injured? What if they had Tom Devine, who had done so well against Dahi Burke in the league game?
Suddenly you can put Ozzy Gleeson back in defence.
Yeah, if you want to, or maybe you've got Devine and Ozzy Gleeson in the attack line, because it's not like their back line was suffering for stars with Tadhg de Burka and Dara Fives back there last year.
All right, who's going to get the job? Who's like...
Well, Sean Power seems like the obvious candidate anyway. I'm sure there'll be...
Tell us about Power. What's his CV?
Well, he won a first minor All-Ireland for the county in, was it 65 years back in 2013? He won the first under-21 title, I think, in 24 years in 2016 as well. He will know all the players, well, especially all the young guys, and it is mainly made up of the young guys that came through his hands. So he seems like the obvious candidate. Maybe Dan will fancy it, who knows? Maybe the likes of Peter Queally. It's hard to know, but he seems like the most obvious candidate at this point.
Is Dalo a possibility? I saw somebody tweeting about that last night.
I saw someone tweeting about it as well. Who was it? I actually can't remember who it was that tweeted. Maybe he will, because Dalo's got a lot to offer, but he's over Kilmacud Crokes at the moment. So
you can double job that, can't you?
Well, I think that would be heavy going, but I doubt he'd even appreciate it, especially from a cool rival. But I'd say Dalo's with Kilmacud for now anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a totally double job with club and county team.
In no way, shape or form can you, because there's huge effort.
It was Owen Larkin.
Yeah, Owen Larkin. Yeah. No, there's way too much time and
to try and beat you guys.
Yeah, but
to knock you off your effing perch. That's it, isn't it?
Is that where this is going?
Yeah.
Another hatchet job.
No, not at all. It's like, you're preventing Waterford from getting their proper county manager, the one that would lead them to the promised land. A butterfly flaps its wings and all of a sudden Waterford are denied. Here, we want to just run through the fixtures, because tomorrow we're going to run you through the Super 8s, but for now this is how we see things playing out. Our very hi-fi graphics. It's the official OTB AM hurling bracket. And side A, you've got Wexford versus a Joe McDonagh County. We think Wexford are going to win that game. They'll be in an All-Ireland quarter-final against Cork. It'll be Cork and Galway in the semi-final, and Galway will win that. In side B, it's Limerick against a Joe McDonagh County, which Limerick we think will win against Kilkenny, because they'll have been beaten by Galway in the Leinster final. And the winners, that'll play Clare, because Clare are going to come through the Munster final, and then Limerick are going to turn them over.
So you're saying
Limerick against Galway in the final.
So you're saying, wait, no,
these are potential draws.
You're saying Clare will win the Munster final.
Clare and Galway are going to win Leinster and Munster and Leinster.
Yeah, I think that's the only real bone of contention I'd have there. Who's going to win the Munster final? And Clare,
it's a toss of a coin.
Yeah, it's interesting that Cork and Clare have played. Is it something like they've played 11 times in the past 20 years. So Clare haven't won a Munster title since 1998, and since then they've played 11 times in Championship. There's been one draw, the All-Ireland final in 2013, one win for Clare, the replay, right. And every other game Cork have won.
Right.
And I think it's all bar the league game in Ennis, was it earlier this year? Maybe Cork have won pretty much every game. So they seem to have Clare's number, except maybe in a massive game that matters. But Cork have beaten them twice in Munster finals in the past 20 years as well.
Right.
It's incredible to think how close Clare were to getting eliminated from the Championship, just to where they are now when you're looking around thinking to yourself, they've got the highest trajectory in Munster right now. Yeah,
I think that the joint meanest defence and the best attack in Munster.
They were helped though by what happened on Sunday. I mean, like obviously the statistical breakdown will be based on averages, and I think Limerick's forward department just didn't fire on Sunday.
Yeah, and again, like, you do wonder now, this whole playing 3 weeks in a row, and the likes of Tip, Offaly, Wexford and whoever playing 4 weeks in a row.
Is there not a bit too much to be made of it?
I don't know, because Patrick O'Connor, the Clare captain, he was saying afterwards that they had the perfect spread. He was like, you play a match.
Two.
Sorry?
The 2 and 2.
The 2 break and then 2, yeah.
Yeah, so Kieran Shannon had a good piece about the high performance conference last year where three lads, I can't even remember who it was now, Podge Collins was one of them, and somebody from backroom teams, they had looked at it and gone, the 2 by 2 break 2 is the perfect scenario. But I think we've probably talked ourselves into it as well, because the small sample size has resulted in performances not being great. Like, I think you can take Offaly out of that. Yeah. Offaly are a team who didn't have the playing resources to last. They didn't actually perform brilliantly in any game. They might have covered the spread in 2 of the matches. Like, the bookies had that pretty much nailed. So you take them out and suddenly it's like, well, a bunch of the other teams weren't able to sustain it for 3 weeks in a row. But like, how much of that is psychological, that they were actually broken by the fact that their performances had reached a level where they were going out?
Yeah, that's fair enough. And Patrick O'Connor's point probably ties in with that, because he said it's probably Tuesday. He said it is more mentally. He said by Tuesday or Wednesday you're only coming down off the first match, and then all of a sudden you're building up for a huge match at the weekend as well. So yeah, definitely it seems to be more of a mental thing. But if that is affecting your performance, then that can't be ignored either.
Yeah, no, it's true. The other results that we have, pretty much straightforward. Limerick against Kilkenny. I think Limerick will win that game.
Yeah, well, like, they can't be as bad as they were at the weekend.
I saw everybody going, oh, it's going to be a massive setback for them. These young teams sometimes need a bit of a setback. It's like, this is really easy. We've just come from nowhere and we're going to win this thing. But actually what they've got is a cold, hard dose of water, and now they have games. Like, so they're going to play
Westmeath or Carlow.
Yeah, they'll win that game. And it's not going to be hard for them. Don't get sent off, don't get injured. And then after that, they have probably Kilkenny.
And the thing with
taking a beating from Galway.
Yeah, well, you'd imagine Galway are going to win that with something to spare. Remains to be seen, and who knows if Joe Canning's knee would be right as well. The thing for Limerick, assuming that they do get that far and it is against Kilkenny, they'll really want revenge for last year when they got knocked out in the qualifiers in Nolan Park. And they were really, really poor that day. I remember John Kiley afterwards talking as if they had just gone through a war and that they'd been heroic. I thought they were terrible, because Kilkenny were a team there waiting to be knocked off, and Waterford did in the next round. And there was real panic that day from Limerick. I remember a few times the ball was just on the ground. They could have picked it up and they just pulled on it wildly. And it was just such a lack of composure. And I mean, maybe the weekend's result in Cusack Park was an outlier. Maybe they're not as bad as an 11-point loss. But definitely, I think if they meet Kilkenny again, they seem to have far more composure this year, and I think they'll meet them head on. Yeah,
now the only thing is that if they get over Kilkenny, then they'll be playing 3 weeks in a row, and everybody talked themselves into, 3 weeks. Can't do that, lads, you're screwed.
But they'll have played the first game. You'd imagine they won't expend too much energy against the Joe McDonagh team. Now maybe we'll be proven wrong, because these Joe McDonagh teams have played 5 games, 6 games by the time of that, and maybe all of a sudden confidence will be high. Because
so hang on a second now, if 3 games leaves you knackered, why is 6 games not leaving you completely out on your feet?
At least at this occasion, it's deserved. It's deserved that you should have to play 3 weeks in a row, because that gives a team with the higher seeding an advantageous position, which is the way it should be. Whereas in the round robin, it's just look at a draw, which you could definitely argue is unfair.
Can I throw in another thing actually as well? Is John Conlon up there for Hurler of the Year at the moment?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
without question.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. Even so he was very good when they won the All-Ireland 2013, 2014, even when Clare flopped. I remember one day against Wexford, they went down to 13 men when they got knocked out, and he scored, I think, 1-5 that day.
He's 29 now.
Yeah.
It's because I presume I'm the same with a lot of people. It was just kind of like 2013 kind of burst into the consciousness for a lot of those Clare players, Conlon being one of them. And you naturally assume, those lads were all under 21 that year, because the entire team played in the under 21 final afterwards. It's an Indian summer almost in his career, although it's probably doing that a little bit of an injustice considering he's still in his 20s.
Yeah.
But he's certainly reached the peak of his career. Hurler of the Year right now, you'd say.
Yeah, and it's working so well with having him and Shane O'Donnell inside, because Shane O'Donnell's runs are fantastic. There's always questions over his shot selection and whether he's not just throw it over the bar. But Conlon, 4 points from play the other day again, and Mike Casey has been really good anytime I've seen him. Brilliant in the club championship all year for Napiershik, and had a really rough time.
Who are the other contenders? I mean, obviously, Galway will have some contenders by the end of the season.
I'd say Pádraig Mannion will be up there again. I think he was definitely someone who should have been nominated last year. Dahi Burke has been exceptional. Conor Whelan, I think he's just waiting to explode again. He had an unbelievable battle with Owen O'Donnell, the Dublin cornerback, last week. He got a couple from play, including a ridiculous, you know, those ones that Peter Duggan and maybe Conlon scored again from the sideline against Tipperary. It was the same job again. And
he did it from the left hand side.
He did it on this side with goals over there. So yeah, so tougher again. And himself, Owen O'Donnell, who is an unbelievable man marker, had a great battle. And O'Donnell broke even kind of for the second half a bit, but Whelan's pretty unstoppable. I think Noel Connors is the only man to really keep him down last year in the All-Ireland final. So I'd put him up there as well.
Just on that Clare forward line, when you mentioned the names there, it's looking fairly formidable now at this point. When you look at the likes of Conlon, O'Donnell, you throw Podge Collins in there, you throw Tony Kelly in there, you throw Peter Duggan in there, and they're all pretty much locked down to start at this point, really. And it's a forward line with a lot of variation. It's a forward line that makes sense. And I know you've made that point before about Galway. And there is kind of a whiff of Galway about this Clare forward line where they've got the right players in the right places.
Yeah, maybe the right players in the right places. I wonder, like, when they do come up, if they do come up against Galway, and I'd like to see that matchup, will they physically be able for it? I actually wondered, was that going to be an issue against Limerick? But again, we don't know, was the 3-week thing an issue? Like, Limerick are huge. I think the two Morrissey brothers, by the way, Dan and Tom Morrissey, they're on the trajectory for All-Stars.
They were brilliant, weren't they?
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they've been spoken of massively, but they should be. I do wonder about Clare though, like that 2-2, has that worked out really well for them? Did they catch a team on the hop? Or do you say, fair enough, they've beaten Tipperary, Waterford, Limerick, and they only lost to Cork in the last, during injury time, Seamus Harnedy got a goal.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've been hammering Clare for the last few years because they've done nothing outside the All-Ireland in a decade. But maybe this is their time.
Yeah, and also they are a team who've actually won All-Ireland, so they know what it takes.
Yeah, most of their players do. And was it Donald Maloney or Jerry O'Connor said afterwards, I'd say most of those lads don't know where the medals is, where those medals are, because, you know, it counts for nothing in this tournament.
Yeah. All right, good stuff, Shane. Thanks very much.
Cheers.